I challenge you too to take your anger and to take your pain and to challenge it into a passion that's going to continue to make a difference for other people. It takes brains. It takes heart. It takes courage to be a great nurse. But there's something else. It takes your heart's desire. That's the passion. You've got to know and understand your heart's desire, which is the passion, and build on that passion every single day with every encounter that you have. We can nurture it. We have to work sometimes to reclaim that passion. And I challenge you to do just that. Because we aren't just born with it. It's not like brown eyes or blue eyes, all right? It's not on, in your genetic code. You can't blame your parents for this one if you don't have it, all right? You got to work at it. I was juggling. I was juggling the rubber balls, the glass balls, all of them all at once, and wondering, how am I going to keep it up? So I thought, like a good nurse, we don't get rid of anything. We just figure a new way to juggle faster or harder or more strategically, right? I said, I'm here for time management. I don't have time to write a mission statement. What's this about? And what he said made really good sense. If you don't know what's most important, then how do you know you're spending your time wisely? If you haven't identified those core values that are at the heart of everything that you do, then how are you prioritizing? And I often talk about the mission being why you exist. All right? Core values are what we believe in. And I challenge you to take the time at home. I'm a big advocate of journaling, but to take the time to identify 5 or 6 things in your list of core values. Look at your vision, what you want to be. And then your strategy is basically, how do you do all that? What is the strategy to live the life that you want to live? This is an exercise. And I look at it like this, too. You need to put it on paper. You need to put it into words, because that gives it validity, it gives it value, it makes it real. A sense of purpose is where you start to connect that vision and values back to who I am and what I do with my hands every single day. And it's the soul of your work. Having a true sense of purpose becomes the soul of your work and makes for better, greater satisfaction in your life. Take the time to write these things out. I learned a lesson a few years ago about connection to purpose. It's kind of an interesting way that I learned about a connection to purpose. I was having a party. I had guests, about 150 guests coming to my home, and I wanted to entertain in my yard. And my fence was peeling, and it looked just awful, and I was working, and I didn't have time to paint the fence, and my husband didn't have time to paint the fence. And the nice thing about having teenage daughters is there's always teenage boys around. So I was able to rally a couple of the guys, pay them, and I said, okay, I'll pay you in cash and all the food you can eat. I didn't realize how risky that second part of the bargain was. Seriously, there was one night where I bought pounds of deli meats, and I took a loaf of French bread and I sliced it and I stuffed it with, I think, probably about 5 or 6 pounds of meat and cheese, and I thought, I'll give the boys a snack while they're painting and then I'll feed the family afterwards. The boys came in, they cut it in half, and each one of them stood there eating their sandwich. But when the guys looked at the fence, typical 16, 17-year-old boys are saying, Ms. Baird, I don't see anything wrong with this fence. It doesn't looks okay to me. You know, and I said, Tom, look with me. See how the paint's peeling? And it's the first thing I see when I walk out the door. And you notice how it flanks my flower gardens the way it does? And you notice it borders on 3 of my neighbors' yards as well. And you can see it from the street. So it's really important that that fence look good. So these 2 boys worked, you know, for days painting the fence and getting it looking all great. And the day of the party, I overheard Tom talking to his father. And he said, Dad, I was responsible for a major neighborhood improvement project this week. And his dad looked at him and said, Tom, you painted a fence. And his response was so good. He said, Dad, do you realize that's the first thing that Chris sees when she walks out the door? Do you realize it flanks her flower garden and that it's bordering 3 properties and you can see it from the street? I didn't just paint a fence. It was a neighborhood improvement project. You need to connect to purpose. And the only way you're going to do that is if you find real value in what you do. You connect it back to your personal mission and vision. Tom was very clear about what he had achieved. His dad saw a fence. Tom saw the neighborhood. He got it. If somebody were reading your obituary, what do you want them to say? At the very end of your days, how you made a difference in the lives of the people around you. That's success. That's being connected to purpose. Words describe us. They help define us. They give greater value to the things we hold dear. And that is why storytelling is so important to us as nurses, to our culture in nursing, our profession. They who tell the stories rule the world. Words from a Native American medicine woman. And I think that sometimes as nurses, we don't take the time to tell our story. That story doesn't have to be for the masses. It may be for you, your eyes alone, and your connection between your day's work and your vision and values. We've construed somehow storytelling to be reserved for the chosen few, the Mark Twains, the Garrison Keillors of the world. Not so. We've got stories. We've got important stories of healing, of compassion.